humbly appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you to share some of the information we've gathered off the soil. Some of it indicates that there's bright future and opportunity. 2 or 3 slip-ups, it can lead to doom. We cannot disagree that races of people prior to us made bad decisions when it came how to handle white supremacy. And this costly, I don't think we want to end up with a race of casinos, do we? We don't want the people to know us as someone who took a casino as a payoff for the destruction of our ancestors. I don't think that's the reparations that we're seeking. But if we make the wrong mistake, if we allow the wrong things to happen, if we continue to allow the same old tricks, there won't be much to pass on. But there is great possibility if we can accept the signs that we have seen. You have the benefit of knowing that if something went wrong, ain't nobody coming. That's a powerful thing to know. You might have thought that Allstate or the YMCA or the Red Cross, I don't even want to say FEMA. For so many years I spoke against the creation of FEMA in 1976. To know now that it did not do what it said it would when it came to us. What a benefit to have, to know that nobody's coming. But I got confused when I saw notable black men, for example, give $1 million as a sum to the Red Cross. I get confused when I saw Puffy Combs give $1 million to the Red Cross. I got confused when I saw Jay-Z give $1 million to the Red Cross. Because from where they're standing, if something went wrong, maybe due to their relationships, they believe someone will come and save them. But that's not me and you. We don't have the privilege of buying our way out of trouble. I remember when they caught Saddam Hussein, he was laying in a little ditch with millions of dollars. Can't even carry $1 million. You can't even carry $1 million. You can have it, but you can't carry it. So he couldn't get away because he didn't want to leave without the money. Just getting away with his character and his identity wasn't enough. He had to go with the money, and he got caught. And the white man, he don't believe in trial for anyone, and I'm not in this Saddam Hussein, but didn't they kill the judge, the lawyers, and a bunch of people before they got to the guilty verdict? Now, they can support that. That could be me. That could be you. That could be Brother Ashwa Kwesi. If they can go for the trial and go like that, well, before you know it, they'll be locking people up on the side of Puerto Rico and say they have no rights whatsoever. If we aren't careful, they're probably going to try that. But maybe they've already gotten there. You know what's funny? It's kind of interesting. I got the mail from the university, and it says on the postal package, it's Russ College, it says, Mr. Postmaster, this material can be opened by you in case necessary. Now this is the mail addressed to me. And when I thought about it, the very next day, Bush announced, or some made through his window, that he's opening the mail. But the letter I got from the school said maybe they already knew they were opening the mail. I wonder if they even paid them to put that on the envelope so the apprehension about it will look happenstantial. No, but it's because on all my mail now, I say it may not ever be open. If you don't want the 39 cents, send it back. Because I don't want my mail to you to be open for security reasons. Now, some of the topics and the titles and the forums and the brothers and the sisters are of excellent caliber and present a threat to national security. And as a result, all of our lives are in jeopardy. And all we have done at this point is talk about some stuff. But they're so far down on their nerves, they went so far down the enemy chain that street gangs, black male, Latino male, and groups of black folk talking together are now national security threats. Now, if we are in full understanding of who we're dealing with, we don't have a problem. And sometimes I end up in the wrong location. Because if you know those things that in foundation I share with you, you won't really need me. We can move on to acting it. Because having a consensus about how we'll do it leads to us doing it. Some people say, boy, we talk a whole lot of time, we need to go do stuff. Yeah, sometimes we done a lot of stuff and ain't thought or talked or planned about nothing. We was just doing stuff. We did integration. We just was doing, man. We got to integrate this place. We was doing stuff. Don't mean it added up to anything. We didn't know where it was all going. But we have to make sure we think through our relationship with those who mean us no well. They have never meant us well. You could not prove it to me at any point of their history. But with such an absolute conclusion, why is there still doubt? Why within our community do we fall prey to the giver? Because the giver has bought his silence. When I was in Chicago and I was watching, Jesse Jackson was a young man then, and they were boycotting the little grocery stores, AMP, High-Low, National, DNS. I remember all these stores have been shut down over time. But there was a period when we were fighting against bad meat and other things. And then came the covenants, or the relationship between the enemy and a few of us. And that relationship existed to stop the rest of us from causing trouble. And many times we misinterpret the reactions to what we do because we don't know who's funding stuff. Today, while we were sitting in the hotel, and I feel sorry for some of these Africans over here, I know they've been on point since 7 a.m. Sister had them down in the lobby. They were up and alert. And I know it's been a long day, Africans. And I will be around. We will get to talk. If for some reason you fall asleep while I'm talking, I can accept that. Because I know it's been a long day. Right over there, I know y'all. So I'll be available. I'm around. So we will talk. And I believe there is some gathering later on at a location. I will stop by there if I can do something to assist you and to be available for you, because this is, in some cases, limited. I couldn't tell you where there would be an organized rebellion right here at Rush College. I couldn't do that. I couldn't tell you what weaponry we had or how we plan to use it or how many people were in on it. I couldn't tell you that at Rush College. So I'll tell you what I can. But you better believe that it is. Now, I want to tell you something. America defeated Iraq, but they couldn't defeat the neighborhood organization. I'm going to say that again. Israel could fight, but they could not defeat the Hezbollah. They could not defeat them. When the PLO won the election, the Americans said, well, hell with the election, so don't get caught up in being elected. Because if you do, they will change who is important. I hear the mayor here might be needing some help or not doing his job. And this is important that we in a town that maybe there's a crisis on the leadership of the Africans who are still here. Ain't no need of all of us coming in here and don't burden the local leadership to accept, to be responsible to protect our Africans. And I saw in the program a particular state representative, but I would hope that the mayor would have been here at some point during this time to see all these beautiful African people. But if he isn't here, maybe this is not his group. And maybe there's somebody somewhere else, but we can't let him go loose. We can't let Memphis go loose. I remember penning Billy Kyle about killing on Martin King. He's telling me about how everybody in Memphis is Black County Board. City Hall, fire department, police, they all black. Yeah, okay. But if you told me they stood for something, then I wouldn't have to ask you who they were, or even what color they were. And I'm going to tell you something about purpose, plan, and values. It could be so straight, it could be beyond any constriction. Brother Quasey and I know, Brother Jeffries and others who have gone around to these campuses, know that there are some white people who do not want us to talk, and they have spent millions of dollars to block you from having the people who represent your interests with the money you gave to school. See, you put the money in the pot. How you not going to get out of it what you want, but they're setting you up for your future. See, you get used to that, and later on, when you're paying $4 gas and you don't know who running it or owning it, these problems, if you indicate at an earlier stage, it'll get bigger later if you show yourself to be vulnerable to these things. So they had a war in Iraq, and the issue wasn't true. So to avoid Democrats, Republicans, white supremacy. Democrats, Republicans, white supremacy. This is the progressive left, this is the right-wing right. They're all on the same body. No white has died at any recent time on behalf of you, unless you can call the name out now. I say that. Yeah, I say on the name of the last white man died on your behalf, John Brown. Been a long time. So, but you see how quick that black man was willing to die for the man who had the seizure. Inside of you is a protective context that you have not broken. It's subliminal, it's in there. And just like those seeds of inferiority, it's so in there, sometimes you don't even question it. They made the man a hero, but it's you they want to jump in front of the next train. For a long time, white folks would put movies out with black men rescuing white men in trouble, like Tom and the Long Ranger, because they want that to be accepted and seen. But when the Democrats so-called got in power, the first thing they agreed not to do was to try Bush for treason. And for that, they ought to be tried. For lying to us to get in the position. Now, it ain't no big deal. Politics is something you use to hold back the tide of white supremacy. You cannot stop white supremacy in politics. You can tie up licensing a certain white operation. You can tie up in a zoning board the right for a certain business to be in an area. You can hold back funds, but you ain't gonna get the spirit of white supremacy to die, because we became black mayor. In New York it went white, Chicago it went white, in LA it went white, Latino. And what happens now? What about the black-brown situation, which is getting critical in many cities? Is there some conversation this weekend we might have on that? Because due to birth rate and penetration, they are here and they are not leaving. And whites are undecided. When they saw those Latinos had that little day of stopping your thing, they said, we're going to stop y'all right now today. We ain't all going to work. It didn't work. They're not in critical services. They can't shut down Wall Street because they don't work there. Certain things they can't do. Certain things you can do. You dominate the postal service and the public transportation. You could shut it down. Yeah, that's true. That's right. I want to tell you something. The most powerful organization in the United States, and I dream if it was mine, is the thing. Can you know how large the United States it is? Imagine having an organization that every day, in every neighborhood, on every block, at every door, you go there to deliver something. Every day, 6 times a week, you touch every house in the United States. You touch every house in the United States 6 days a week. Cable ain't got that level of penetration. Television, newspaper, radio, nothing has that level of penetration. If only you had something to say. I say that in that when we were having a political revolution in Chicago, though it is illegal, Vinny, you here work for the Postal Service, it is illegal to take unstamped mail and put it in the mailbox. But when we couldn't get the people to take Harold Washington stuff to the doors, the postal people took them. And we hit every door. We didn't miss a door because they were willing to break the rules for the change. And they did it. But we also gave due recognition to the power that they have. And on the day they don't get to work, the bills can't even come out. And this system is built upon you sending that little envelope in with that bill money on it. And if you just held it up a little while, you don't know to what power. There was a war that was not true, and no one could stop it. There was a war that is not true, and no one could stop it. All of the white congressmen and all of the white senators voted up, and even all of the blacks except for one. Who was the one that didn't vote for it? Barbara Lee of Oakland, correct. And she called hell for refusing to go with the cattle call. You see, you need protection, and that, like Katrina showed, there's no one there. No one can stop them from doing that which they chose. So now some people have died. 3,000 or more. 50,000 got no arms or legs or a hand or are distorted beyond the ability of their family to care for them. Some of them can't even get benefit after that. The irony is so deep. So to not have them get into the false reasons, he plays the game of the surge, so the question of how never comes up. The generals who last week said no, this week said yes, they just lying, staff. That's what the military does. It does what it's told. But you know, their ability to recruit people has diminished to the point that just 3 weeks ago, they practiced the draft. Small news item. United States government practices the draft. How do you practice the draft? You put all the names of the people in who selective service demanded that you register. You pull their names out to see who you got. How do you practice a draft? And I remember when I went to college, and if you didn't maintain the C average, you went to Vietnam like my brother did. They yanked him out of Tennessee State. And he got shot up 5 times. He made it back, had 3 Agent Orange babies. With all that chemical in this system from doing something that he didn't believe in, but no one could stop it, and they said they'd never do it again, and now they've done it again, and no one has stopped them, and they're about to do it bigger. They all agreed it was bad, and now they've agreed they're going to do it more, and somebody's going to act like they're trying to stop them. But that does not bid well for our people. So we're going to talk a couple of bits about whom it is we should know a little bit about. Some things, if you wanted to offer yourself as leadership for your people, then it would be certain things as a servant to which you would need to know. And those qualifications, I think it's difficult to get in graduate school without an undergraduate degree. In some way, we need to begin to certify those people who seek the right to help another person, because that's a divine responsibility. And if someone misses that responsibility, it could be lost. And we cannot afford to have such. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. We'll have a little base theory. It would be real difficult to be responsible without a central theory. You know, some people are hesitant, you know. The white man at the bottom of all of this. Some of it, I'm sure. Rockefeller, has he got anything to do with this? I don't know. We have institutions of many types, including institutions of higher learning like where we are right now. But it is difficult for an institution to speak against someone who looked up the Ford Foundation, and we were looking at all the universities the Ford Foundation was giving money to. I didn't see Rush College or nothing like that. It wasn't that why I said it. But the point of it was that they dominate across the universities. Carnegie Endowment for International, Carnegie Teaching Institute. These major families. Who was the major family that built over 900 libraries? Carnegie. All these Gothic-looking libraries in all these cities were built by Carnegie family, who felt that was his gift to white supremacy. In the early 1900s, they broke up the major oil companies because they had monopolies. In the 80s and 90s, without clear opposition, they put those same companies back together. For the first time in the history of the world, a company makes $10 billion profit in only 90 days. And they got that as a barrel of oil. It was $22 a barrel, and now all of a sudden, because I manipulated something in the press and no one could stop the wicketry of my game, it's now $72 a barrel, and it didn't move. 22 to 72, it didn't move. I only moved my apparatus. The victims failed to materialize. Who led the protest against, in this area, against high-ass oil prices? Anybody know of anybody? Anybody from any other city, do you remember someone leading a protest against high-ass oil prices? Oil prices not high enough? You're almost scared to answer. Do y'all drive? How many of y'all here drive? All right. Is gas? It's probably just all right now, ain't it? Electricity going down lately? The gas, natural gas to the house is going down lately? You waiting somehow. You got to figure out who is doing these things. And if you even talk their names or pass their names out in public to each other, they will consider doing what you want because they will feel personally threatened. I would like to say that it's very difficult to defeat white supremacy if you cannot personally threaten it. Many of the things I'll show you that I have in the Boule, I went to the Boule meeting, they was charging $2,000 to get in, I walked in. Would somebody say, no you can't? They might, but it might be an incident, and then more people will know what we up to. So they decide, let the Negro go around and let them go ahead. And then they had books on the table, and I took the books, and they said, man, them books are for the people who pay. I said, yeah, but what you gonna do? You gonna take it back? They said, no, you can have it. You can have the book. And when we were talking to, in fact, Susan Taylor's husband, Kepper Burns, you know, one time I was supposed to speak for Black History Month at Time Warner, man, this thing, $2,000 an hour, is Dick Gregory, Al Sharpton, just a bunch of people for the whole month of February, and Time Warner had decided that the executives of Time Warner, making between $90 and $2 million a year, could not have Coakley for Black History Month, because you can't have Coakley around nobody with money. Because if you have purpose and principle, all of a sudden you find and think a better way to multiply your values with your money. And then also keep you away from people with the money. They said you can't come. They put a little editorial in the New York Post. Murdoch even said he was in on this one in the Anti-Defamation League. If you cannot handle the Jewish question, you as a race will fail. And you must bite it in the ass and handle it straight up. From Zionism right on down to anti-Semitism, you must square. Point number one, you will have to deal with the Jewish question. And y'all scared already? All right, because sometimes y'all do get scared. I got reports some of y'all gave when y'all thought y'all was gonna get in trouble for hanging with Oswald or something. And that's why you know how vicious they are in those places to keep you away from those fertile minds that pay thousands of dollars to be educated with some of the knowledge. See, in the core values, what Oswald Kwesi has to offer should be the core of your freshman class. How can you be a freshman class with not knowing where you came from? First year, where did you come from? Oh, first year. You will go there, you will vibrate there, you will make friends there, and you will come back here and tell everybody you know where. That's your freshman year. What else could you be doing? Taking biology, taking speech 101, English class, pronouns and predicates in a context of white supremacy. You ain't got time. How much time do you have? An ignorant one will say forever. It will be incumbent upon those who know more to tell more at a critical period. There are certain things you must be able to do to keep your neighborhood. They might take the government of Mississippi, but they can't take your neighborhood because you have an ability to self-determinate right in your spot. And if they had given that $1 million to the Black Cross, spent $200,000 renting some sister and brother nurses, spent another $300,000 getting brother and sister doctors. They rent the planes for the concert, so take the plane and fly them with envelopes of cash that you take to your people in New Orleans. Well, we could have shown how mature now. Last week, I'll take that back, I was in New York. Jay-Z and Russell Simmons announced they was going to fight anti-Semitism. Professor Griff, you here? Huh? Yeah, brother professor, could you imagine Russell Simmons and Jay-Z have announced at the World Jewish Federation, all the way in Switzerland, that they're going to fight anti-Semitism. And this brother, who in Public Enemy as the Minister of Information, sought out a brother like Steve Coakley, and white folks said, no, you can't associate with no brother and no knowledge. And if you were to go back and look up Variety and Billboard, you'll see the repudiations of that brother and this brother from the head of CBS Records right down to the bone. Same repudiation that Time Warner did not want Steve Coakley, so they paid me not to come. And I took the money, got on the train, went to New York, and went to the downtown Equitable building on the Rockefeller Plaza, and we shut Time Warner down. Because I understand if you can't make that threat personal, then white folks will walk over you. Shortly afterwards, the chairman of Time Warner, Gerald Levin, Trilateral Commissioner, son got murdered while he was buying crack in the black community. I only say that to say, and Gerald Levin resigned, and Dick Parsons, who wrote a memo to Sylvia Rowan, who at that time was the top sister in the music business. If you can't tell Steve Coakley that he can't come, then I will tell him. And you call me by 2 and tell me you did it. So they went to get Susan Taylor to replace me. And when I got wind of that, I called her office at Essence Magazine, and they said she's out of town. I said, well, sister need to call me. She don't know me, but she need to call me because they want her to replace me. So she calls me from New Orleans. She was preparing for a jazz fest. And she said, I will be in New York tomorrow. We'll talk. When the next day came, Reverend Sharpton called me. He says, I have Susan Taylor on a AT&T conference call, and we have Attorney Automatics and others. And sister said, brother, I don't know who you are, but white folks are scared of you. She said, now, I've been around, I'm going to tell you, I've been around, but I don't know you. So Sharpton says, sister, he the bootleg buster. And she said, bootleg? I never heard of that, Steve. Would you send me every copy of a tape you have on the bootleg? I said, sister, that'd be $3,000-$4,000 worth. She said, I don't care, just give me an invoice, and I will pay for every one of them. Little did I know, when I busted in on that next bootleg convention in New Orleans, she was speaking. It was her husband, who Pepper Burns, who was the editor of the Bootleg's Journal. And if I was just led by money, I would have gave her all of my information, because the money would have meant more to me than keeping it out of the hands of the enemy. But there was no such circumstance. And even though we had no money, we could give up that money. So when we walk in on the Bootleg convention, we got Pepper Burns in the corner, and there go the head of American Express walking by. Kenneth Chenard, he said, y'all all right? When you get the Bootleg convention tape, you'll see it. See the superintendent, former superintendent of schools in Chicago, Manfred Burke. He said, Steve Coakley, what are you doing here? We're at the Marriott in downtown Philadelphia. He said, what are you doing here? I said, oh man, come see what y'all doing. And I said, Manfred Burke, who made you school superintendent? He said, Steve Coakley and the crew. The reason being that they had selected someone else to be head of the school board, and actually they didn't live in Chicago, and we dug up the research to establish what is true, that they didn't live in the city, and we compelled the court to kick him out, and he got pushed out. It wasn't done by the moderates or the urban leaguers, it was done by the street militants who forced the situation to abide by its own rules. And so when Captain Burns says, well, don't be against us. We the Boule, we founded the great black hospitals, and we did this and we did that. And my brothers who were with me were trying to get them to agree to do something for our people. And I had to stop them. And it's right on the tape. I said, brothers, I can come here to ask this black male secret society of over 100 years to be more conscious. I didn't ask that. We came here to warn them that if you're the gatekeeper for white supremacy and the shit go down and you on duty, either you're going to walk or take the heat. That was the message. That was all. No, it was something. And they think all of you were with me when I was there threatening them with 8 brothers. Because they don't know enough about you to know whether you do or don't know, or whether you understand or don't understand, and you in the baby thing and you don't want to be against the big thing. They don't know. But I can say to you, if it go their way, you gonna stand. Because if the mojo get working, some people gonna get hurt. Or sometimes you get hurt for no reason at all, so ain't nothing wrong with this. Okay. All right. When you start heading back where you're going, you're gonna see this all over the news. All you're going to see is going to be something about Martin King. And we're on that day. It's coming up Monday. There's federal holiday to give honor to Martin King. And I want you to know that there's something about that that's indicative of where we are as a race. Because if you're so willing to allow somebody who undermines the person they say they love, and then when they die, they ascend to their position, and you don't question them, then other of us have died, and more fake replacements will come about. Now, we lost Brother Khalid Abdul Muhammad. I love me some Brother Khalid. I love me some Brother Khalid. And we lost Brother Khalid.
Today would have been his birthday.
And there was not much understanding. I propose to you that we need an assassination prevention bureau. For if we do not have 9 elders to sit over information collected by 15 of our top researchers who can be moved anywhere in the United States at a minute's notice to establish the facts for the race and turn them over to our 9 elders, and they decide upon, and it had conclusions. See, we need some conclusions. Too much shit open. We need some, is it the NAACP, the Urban League? We need some conclusions. And it could be anybody. I don't care what uniform you wear. I don't care what organization you're in. I don't care if it's Greek, non-Greek. I don't care if it's African. I don't care if it's an organization of freaks. We'll have freaks for black liberation. It's okay. It's all right. I don't care what you are. You can be for black liberation. You can be frogs for black liberation. We're gonna unite everything we got. You can talk to animals, sign up over here. We got positions available. But you gotta be capable. Very capable. My only point to this is that this is unresolved business. I was here several years ago. SCLC had their convention right at the Marriott in Memphis, and it was the first time they ever come back to Memphis since 1968. And you know why they came back? Because Coakley and a bunch of street brothers had gathered enough information that the King family had the courage to come back there and put the shit on the table. They had 8 cameras that night. And I mean, not one of them was found after the program. If Brother Shelby hadn't drove up to Memphis from Lafayette, we wouldn't even have a picture of it today. I think there's a tape up there, the SCLC King assassination, with myself, Dick Gregory, William Pepper, Philip Allison, the Bernice King, Martin King III. In fact, when that thing was over, Martin King III got fired. The brothers who wrote the story at the final call, they got knocked out. It was an unprecedented retraction of information that I produced, but no one asked me to prove what I said. They went right around me and went to lesser lights and made them take it back. Jesse Jackson was asked to take a lie detector and people were afraid. See, I get on Dick Gregory, man, you with me. You know Jesse helped kill King, but then I look up and you with Jesse and you don't say shit. No, see, you gotta be tight enough with them to pull that off. Like, now, brother, which way is it? See, See, there's still confusion on the battlefield. There's a lack of a conclusion about who the Malcolm thing ain't been resolved. Don't you fall asleep or be afraid. The Collett thing ain't been resolved. Don't you be afraid. And if you do not resolve these things, resurrection will be limited until the parties involved are dead. Because relationships with the white man have maintained those secrets. And you still don't know because the white man ain't wanted to tell. And some black people were in it. And it will happen again unless you got a force to know. You come near this one or that one or this one or that one, will knock you down if you get close to them. Because if they don't feel that fear personally, it's not likely they're going to not mind signing you away as a race. It's an amazing situation to see America go around the world and be so hated. All the years of abusing us was not enough to convince another white person. But time has passed, and we talked about the Tower of Babel theory, where they've risen to the point that they can't understand each other anymore. And they tend to battle and confuse each other and battle over the moment where they're standing. I used to talk about this old commercial. It's not on anymore. It was Magic Johnson. No, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. And Michael Jordan was eating a Big Mac, and Larry Bird would walk up to him and he said, "I'll play you for that Big Mac." And then they started shooting him off the billboard and off the walls and all of that. But, you know, my little 5-year-old said, "But Daddy, what does Michael Jordan win? Because that's already his sandwich." But these things are been sold inside of our head, and we tend not to question things that are not righteous. Wait till the Super Bowl come and see how many demeaning commercials about our people will be shown. I remember the last one was a white man in the tile in the locker room, like a woman. You know, it goes on and on. But also while you're watching those commercials and while you're looking at ESPN or you look at the Today Show and watch when they give the news, keep your eye on those little circles in the background. Watch carefully circles in the background that appear to be totally meaningless. In stories, the dates, CBS, ABC starts off running, ABC got circles. Watch how many times you see these circles. Later on, we'll talk about how that formation is the white supremacist formation, something they stole from way back in our people. And to them, this is how they identify each other in the public. Who's working with who? There's Martin King laying down there in that towel. And there's Andy Young. And there's the top of Jesse Jackson pointing in the wrong direction. Information is critical at a moment's notice. The man who shot at Martin was in the opposite direction, but the people were helping him get away. When you point, bam, somebody comes over here and shoots, everybody says, "It was over there." Well, if you go that way, then this person over here gets away. And then, but the only thing I want to tell you about is the truth. Is it the truth or the consequence? Now, on the nights before Martin died, he was grappling with some stuff, and he was really putting a lot of pressure on Jesse Jackson. That's the only recreation I could find in the whole United States of the moment before King was killed. The reason I show that is that Jesse Jackson held him on the balcony, and only seconds later the shot rang out. And he was trying to demand that Jesse would wear a tie, but the FBI put out a profile saying friendlies will not be wearing ties, meaning don't shoot at anybody wearing no tie. So Jesse was insistent about how he wasn't going to wear one. He said, "All you need to go to dinner with Dr. King is an appetite." But my point is that whites have maintained these relationships, and there has been no king since then. That you ain't never heard. He said, "Tonight, I want you all to boycott Coca-Cola." This is the night before he died. Coca-Cola is the powerhouse of Atlanta. They gave more money to SCLC than any other corporation. And the night before he died, he told our people, don't drink Coca-Cola. He said, don't buy no Wonder Bread. He said, and don't eat seal test ice cream. But then all you hear is that I may not get to the mountaintop. That's all you hear. But that part before that, you gotta take a look. When white folks say nothing was there, and it was a dream, you take a look, it was a boycott. One of the most, I know you can do this economic sanction thing because you don't have to do anything to accomplish it. For me not to buy with somebody, all I have to do is not do it. And that's a powerful thing. And you need to know something about the city of Cincinnati, which had a boycott in its downtown. Anybody here from Cincinnati? Besides Brother Jackie, you all know about the boycott in downtown Cincinnati? And how nobody, people who you thought would have come. Whoopi Goldberg didn't go to Cincinnati and sent 5,000 to help the boycott. Bill Cosby, they attacked Bill Cosby on the Bell Smith show. He said, when I get there, y'all come talk to me. They come there. He said, oh, hell no, I'm not performing. And he gave 10,000. Prince didn't come. The Isleys didn't come the first time. And the list of the black preachers, the black Masons, nobody came because the community was powerful enough to personally threaten anyone who crossed the boycott line. 16 black men have been killed in unanswered murders by white police in Cincinnati, and the people had had enough. In Chicago, we had a Chicago Fest boycott when they chained a bus driver to his bed in the hospital when he ran over a child at a Rolling Stone concert. And went to the radio show, Jesse Jackson was on. They said, we ought to boycott that Chicago Fest. And we shut it down. Stevie Wonder announced he wasn't coming. It's one across the other artists. So economic sanctions is a tool. You could do it here in Holly Spring if this was the spot where you had unmet demands for justice. Economic sanctions as a form of dealing with white supremacy. Remember that. Very much remember that. Now, the military had been spying on Martin King. They spied on his dad. Another point. I ain't gonna count. Another point. If you know something about Jewish people and the Jewish operation, you also must know something about the spy game, the intelligence community. No African can be an effective activist without understanding the essence of the white supremacist intelligence system. They called it COINTELPRO, it's now IntelPro. In fact, it's gotten so critical. I have a folder here full of things. What are they doing? They're watching your email. They're opening thumbnail. They're on your computers. Your cookies. They put cookies on your stuff. I'm not into the tech game, so I can't even call out all the spots. But they have shown that they're in those spots with whatever it is that they want to do. But if you're to be an effective activist, you got to know what it's like to be in a meeting and assign someone to make the flyer, and when they come back, he got the wrong date on it. And now all of a sudden the meeting could be jeopardized by the fact that somebody put misinformation on it. Or somebody was supposed to pass it out, you go and see it all in the garbage. Or someone misrepresents what happens at a meeting. You must be prepared to deal with that. And the spy game has many levels. Its primary level is intention plus capability equals threat. Intention plus capability equals threat. And they spied on Martin King, and to the point that they were calling him and threatening him with death. And Martin King, he felt this pressure. He felt the pressure. Malcolm X felt the pressure. How is it our people know when white people are gunning for them? Even to the point you hear them say, no one can help me now. That's a very critical moment when they are put upon the community such a circumstance or condition. That's the son of Khalid Muhammad. Right there. Farah Gray. He's talking about the country and never mentioned one word of his father. In fact, his book come out, he's meeting with the president, he's doing a lot of things that don't look like the boy I saw with Khalid Muhammad all those years. The question is, then who was he to begin with? I got the call from Farah to tell me to stop looking into his father's death, that it was natural cause, and there wasn't a toxicology or autopsy in at that moment. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. But I always say this to say that you have to watch. When Martin King was killed, the New York Times said that Jesse Jackson is the next great leader for black people. I mean, you must watch the elevations post-assassination. It's what the intelligence community does. Now, this is a stupid, meaningless picture. The man in that little shirt is so-called Lee Harvey Oswald. And he was allegedly a shooter of John Kennedy. And here's another picture of those same people. In fact, two people took the same picture at the same time. Look at the man with his hands behind his head. He was actually giving a signal to someone else. And they were to establish the presence of the people in that picture. But in that picture is one of the people who was involved in the assassination of Martin King. I can tell you there's only been one group of killers in America, and they have to dispatch them to various cities in various disguises at various times. And if you read the caption, see, because if you're a researcher, don't ever think everybody know what you find. Because I found some stuff nobody found. I read somebody's book, William Pepper writes in his book, Active State, that in the courtyard, they said friendlies will not be wearing ties. So I took all the footage of the courtyard, and I found a man hiding behind a pole with an open shirt, who was Lieutenant Arkin, head of intelligence for the Memphis Police Department. And he had on a trench coat and an open shirt, and he was hiding behind the pole, so the television camera didn't get him. But William Pepper had never seen him. So I took his research and turned it to him and said, look what I found with what you said. Miss King, who was a violent revolutionary, God bless if you had the chance to know her, for she was big on the conspiracy theory thing. And I'm still a little edgy about her being in Mexico and not making it back over these treatments and stuff. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that, but the point to it is that she was very much into what happened with her husband, and she suffocated the hurt and her knowledge of what she knew. And then it was Martin King's brother, A.D., who's going to stand up for what happened to Martin, and they find him dead in a swimming pool. Say he drowned, but A.D. was an expert swimmer. And so these deaths can be so subtle that the living don't respond appropriately, and the deaths continue. My life is in jeopardy because of how we act. Your life is in jeopardy because of how we act. We do not respond appropriately to attack. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna watch this. How many of y'all ever been afraid? You know, maybe you were at the protest for the first time, or you were at school and you were opposing something you thought were wrong, and you thought you would be condemned or whiteballed for standing up for what was right, and you decided not to do it to protect yourself. Raise your hand. Thank you for being honest, brother, because it affects everybody. Everybody at one time has had to consider. I remember when they were holding the minister at Heathrow Airport and wouldn't let him out. They were going to send him back. So they said, then we got to go down and bum rush the British Embassy in one of them skyscrapers downtown. I look at that lobby, I see them elevators, I see the people downstairs. I know we got to get upstairs to the 22nd floor. I'm trying to decide, is I'm brave enough to go with this thing? And we went in there, but I thought about it. We busted in the Grand Lodge of Louisiana on 333 Charles Street. And it was closed. There's a lodge right there. Go all the way up the Grand Lodge of Louisiana. And we snuck in the building. We got up in the elevators, and there was a young brother had a camera. He stopped and said, "Now I'm scared." And the sister, the little construction sister, she pumped him right in the jump. She said, "Brother, you hold this damn elevator, and you hold that camera up, and if you move it, I'll kick your ass." Brother said, I'm scared. See, if you're going to be a leader, you got to deal with the fear question. If you're going to be a leader, because if you're afraid and you're in the lead, oh, we got multiplication of trouble. So don't come forward unless you're the one. And if you ain't ready, don't take the step, because God will create a circumstance that will make you shake in your ass. But you will find out who you are. Go out into the wall, the white people bored to the point. I mean, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got no car, no house, no job, no teeth, no nothing, no money. I don't need nothing. But my threat level is high. Because if they don't know nothing, they know I give all that nothing up for something. I'm going to tell you something. Think about them people who are locked up in their jails. Be no better appreciation of freedom if they were let out and asked to fight. Who better would love to free? Then they got to fight the Mexicans. They'll come out here and fight something for a reason. When we get to talking about the factor, and one thing that's stopping black people from liberation is jobs. Negroes with jobs. Because ain't nobody going to revolt, and they're working. And it's not going to happen on the weekend, and it can't happen after 5. Somebody tried to get me to go on a protest when the buildings were closed. No. Say, man, we're going to protest City Hall. When? On Saturday. So when they closed, they said, yeah. Man, I ain't walking around no damn building, ain't nobody in it. Well, I'm going to walk around the building, ain't nobody there. See, originally, when it was the first Million Man March, it was going to be on a Saturday. And that wasn't a true test of the power of the people coming. Now, I know you can come because you came. I understood that airport, white people come from all over, planes full of African people. And I also know that they switched the date to the Monday. And Bob Dole got up in the Senate and said, I'm announcing that the Senate will be closed on Monday due to a protest. But better have them run than you come when they ain't there and acting pathological. Have some pathological stuff. So much better they left and our people came. And it showed we could come for a reason. Now, we would have to have done something, or something would have went wrong or went right. Now, white folks are real about order. When the 911 thing came, I was in D.C. My daughter was in the Roots Activity Learning Center in Washington, D.C., the African Center School. I had just taken her to school, and I'm coming back. Somebody said a plane went to the World Trade Center. So I had a little TV, I turned a little TV on, and they're showing the mall where the Million Man March was. And they had announced that a plane was coming to the State Department, and another plane was coming to the CIA. And a plane then hit the Defense Department, the Pentagon, and right across the street they were having a meeting with the Carlisle group. Right at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. The Bin Laden family was meeting right there next to where the plane hit the Pentagon. But when the white folks began to run, if you remember how the mall is set up to the Capitol, every other block there is a street. Do you know with an airplane coming, white folks stayed in line and in traffic and obeyed every light and never drove up on the curb to get away? Now this is important, because if you got a mission to do one day and you chasing somebody, you gotta know how they're gonna run. I'm going any which way. I always tell everybody, bury everything you need in 4 directions. In case you gotta leave out and never come back, you already have buried in advance what you need. You don't ever have to come back, because you prepared, because the day will come, and only the unprepared will be a burden. And sometimes they cut the burden like Harriet Tubman, they got to take you down to make the way. I remember laying up in the little things over there in Memphis with the sisters, laying up there down in the little room with the lights out, trying to figure out what I could do for 90 days, sitting up there like that, waiting for the white man to go past. I couldn't have done it. But then I don't know. Dad walked from Alabama to Mississippi, went all the way to Canada. Now we don't even walk from the hotel to the conference. But if you felt your freedom was on the line, you would go. But you don't feel that, though it is. And it's worse when you don't know that. Because it can happen instantaneously. Instantaneously. It says, I Oswald, let's see, Oswald handing out leaflets in New Orleans supporting the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. The man with the white shirt and the tie, immediately to the right of Oswald, has never been identified. He appears to be working with Oswald. Now, he was never identified because he was somebody never to be identified. And he showed up in other situations. But I only made the point to say, if you're looking up the information and it doesn't appear everyone sees what you see, it does not mean what you see is not true. Circumstance can make them know but not tell. Circumstance can make them see but not say. Circumstance. So don't you burden yourself with their limitation. Now I'm going to tell you again, 100 virgins can whip 1,000 whores. 100 virgins can whoop 1,000 whores. We don't know it all, but you feel that you can. Your chances are better than the one who did multiple violated and is going to try to do it then. They got karma to deal with. So you have to find a way for your virgins. These are political, social virgins, not sexual virgins. And you have to put them in a position that they can take risks that the vulnerable can't. Think about that. Think about that. And again, I'll tell you another thing. One day, brother come and got me and said, man, I want you to go over here to the AIDS conference. I said, man, I ain't interested in no AIDS conference. He said, man, they want to show you something. What you got to show me at the AIDS conference? So I get over there, brother stand up, he said, Brother Copeland, I just want to tell you, they say I don't have long to live, but I would like to dedicate my life to be a suicide bomber. And then someone else stood up. And then somebody else stood up. And then somebody else stood up. And they said, you know, they say our life ain't worth nothing. I'd be willing to give my life for something. So you're in trouble with the Negro population. Because they don't want to give up nothing. No sacrifice. They don't want to give up cable. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's going to be rough when the lights go out. It wouldn't be something that we did. You never know. All right, so you have the one that does not know the most is not necessarily out of the picture. They just have a vessel, and it is preparation. Now, I'm going to say this right here, just this little stack right here is some good stuff. Exxon Mobil, named the chairman, the vice chairman, the board of directors. Exxon Mobil, the board of directors. Chevron, Texaco, the board of directors. Call them out. Call them names out, you African-centered people. Because the people who in Africa are these same people who I'm calling up. Now, I know you love some Africa. And I know that by the indicators that you're involved against those who are against Africa. Check. Or maybe you ain't serious. And maybe I'll be a fool to get with you all this time you've been in it and you ain't done it. Now, if you don't compute it, you won't change it. Because you swear you never had the combination. Right here is the board of the Trilateral Commission. Right here is the board of the Council on Foreign Relations. Right here is 3 copies of different boards of Exxon, Chevron, Texaco, BP, Amoco, Synergy in Cincinnati, Chase Manhattan, J.P. Morgan, Bank One. See, when I started in Chicago, and I was trying to tell people about this big Rockefeller thing taking over cities, they didn't want to listen till First National Bank took over the school board. And then they wanted to put a banker in charge. And that banker was from the head of the utility company. He was a Rockefeller man. He didn't live in the city, but he was the top establishment in Chicago. They wanted him to run the schools. They wanted to tell the children, see, compulsory education is mandatory stimulation, and that ain't changed yet, still. Long story short, let's see how I put this. Now, you can look up Yahoo. You can look up Yahoo, and you can find certain things about a stock. For example, if I said, who is on the board of Exxon Mobil, and you said you didn't know, then I would say, well, maybe if you don't know that, maybe you know another important thing about it. with stock? Who are the top 5 mutual companies with stock? And who are the top institutional investors in a particular company? How many of y'all got access to the internet? Everybody, right? And I think when we went to North Carolina A&T, and I asked about those answers, and somebody had a laptop, I think it took all of 90 seconds to hit up the ExxonMobil board of directors on a laptop. Now, what stops you from looking? Did somebody tell you that it wasn't important? Did somebody tell you it wasn't important? Or when you went to the African meeting, white folks just never seemed to come up. Because, you know, if you want to make the change, you must know who the change is being made against. Now, a stock, you want to have mission-oriented leadership. You must know how to bring down the stock of a white corporation. And I will offer you the example of Chiquita, Cincinnati. White man named Carl Linder, me and my man, Brother Jake from Cincinnati. We identified Carl Linder as the head of white supremacy in Cincinnati. And we began to go about the process of dehumanizing that monkey to the point that his stock went from $120 a share down to $6 a share. $119 a share to $6 a share on pressure from the black community. Now, I only say that to say that the price of gold, the price of oil, the price of platinum, the price of corn, wheat, pork bellies, and the like are beyond your reach. Not beyond your impact. It's that no one has brought them to you. No one has brought the New York Stock Exchange to you so that you understand, as an African-centered person, where you stand with the stock thing. All the people had them 402Ks, they lost all that money all the years back. Every African would have to have the Forbes 400, so they come out every year. But you'd be compelled to know every white person in the Forbes 400 in your state and in your region. And you must know who they are, and then you need to look them up in Who's Who in America, Standard & Poor's Book of Board of Directors, and start establishing the width of that person that you identify. Who knows, they may have an impact on something you love. The world's billionaires. This list comes out every year. 600 millionaires in the world, 390 something in America. So half of the world's billionaires are in one country, and you happen to be that close to it. If it comes to the Fortune 500, then you got to take that list and look for your state and see how many of those corporations are where you're standing. So where are we in Mississippi? Let me see. What corporation, guys, where's Mississippi at on the list? Oh, they don't appear to be in the top 40. These are the top 40. Let's see, what maybe one of these cities got Howard Springs on. Okay. So it's likely if we was to do real damage to white supremacy, we're going to need a ticket or transportation. Look like we're going to have to travel. Because, you know, I'm in California now. I'm going to tell you something. I started in Chicago, swept that Big Ten, went to the Midwest, to the Big 8, now Big 12, and over to the East Coast, and stayed on the East Coast a while, come to the West Coast. California is a food production capital. And if you want African liberation, you must have a strategy to steal large volumes of food. No, I'm telling you the shit now. Because you ain't growing it, are you? I could tell you to grow huge farms. You said, man, see? But we're talking about the greenhouse, because if the person at 9120 did tomatoes and the person at 9130 did romaine lettuce, then in those small little ponds, everybody in the neighborhood got lettuce, and tomatoes. Somebody else do fish. Now, they don't have basements in California, so maybe somebody in Wisconsin, we had basements. You could put a pond in your basement, and you could grow clean fish. But a revolutionary will have to have food, because if you can't feed the people you ask to revolt, what they gonna do? Go to the store or have pizza when you finish? Think. When my grandma used to have cans with the little wax on the top and the bottom, the jar, we never feared being snowed in, because everything was in the basement. Now, say, sister, you talking about buy it and open it? No, I'm talking about screw it and pack it. What? So we ain't into that right now. But I was thinking, to the one that gets into it, you could be the revolutionariest food producer in the history of the race. So that position is open. Okay. The board of the American the board of the Carlisle Group, the board of the Trilateral Commission, more on the Carlisle Group, the board of J.P. Morgan Chase, all about the directors who were chairmen of general elections. Look this company up, Spectal, S-P-E-C, capital letter T-A-L, Spectal Consultants. Now, because the intelligence community is not working, they're now privatizing the intelligence community. There's two companies, Abraxas Corporation and Spectal. Look them up on the internet so you can see the new style of urban warrior. Council on Foreign Relations, Bank of America, Synergy, Rockwell, the military-industrial complex. You must know the benefactors of a false war. Citicorp. Okay, here's the Yahoo Finance analysis of ExxonMobil. And it has major holders. You can just hit this up on the internet. Yahoo Finance. Hit up ExxonMobil. A nice profile will come down. Now, you flip into this, it says top institutional holders. Now, these are benefits. If ExxonMobil stock go up, it's up to 70-something now. It was 30-something a couple of months ago. They're making $10 billion every 90 days after taxes. First corporation in the history of the world to do that. And the companies that have top institutional investments in ExxonMobil are the Barclays Bank. Now, if you know anything about the Barclays Bank, you should know something about diamonds and gold in Africa. The Rothschild family, the State Street Corporation, FMR Corporation, Fidelity Management and Research, Vanguard Group, the Mellon Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, Northern Trust, Deutsche Bank, Wellington Management Company, TIAA, Creek Investment Management. Top individual holders, and these are actually Exxon employees. Top mutual fund holders, the College Retirement Equities Fund stock account, Fidelity Magellan Fund, Vanguard 500 Index, Washington Mutual. Now, Washington Mutual is a bank that offers free checking all over. I don't know if they're here, but they're one of the big benefactors of the oil in ExxonMobil, Chevron, Mexico. Now, I'm going to say something. It can fit in your waist. Enough information to change your neighborhood can fit in your waist. There's no reason that every African who means the race well would take it seriously enough to do the work. It is good to know our culture. And we have, I don't know the Kemetic thing. When it comes to that, I'll bow to Brother Ashwa, because that's not what I know. I know white folk doing it to us right now. You need that? You need that? You call me. That's all that is. But you keep up on that. But every one of us will have to know those things. Now, this is something interesting, and we should do this. Who owns what in the Bay Area? This is done annually in Oakland, San Francisco, and it takes every radio station on the AM dial, every radio station on the FM dial, and it lists where they are and who owns it. And then every television station, every newspaper, every educational fund, commercial television, educational television, everybody in the Bay Area who got a piece of media is on this one sheet of paper, And if you're going to have a revolution, you got to deal with these people. So you must know them. And to know them, we must compile the information about them. And I know this is not going to get to be too much fun. Fortune 500, you can start taking the corporations down like this. Look up the Fabian Society. See, learn something about them. Every magazine, now this doesn't even exist anymore, but every magazine has an influential list. Buy any influential list that you can find that will tell you who owns, controls, and runs something. If you get a chance, find this book, The Imperial Brain Trust. This is the doctorate thesis of 2 white students from Northwestern University. And if your doctor's paper can be as influential as their computation of the Council on Foreign Relations, it's a section about their role in Africa, for example, then if only your doctor's thesis could have such a powerful impact. Very powerful impact. Very powerful impact. The Imperial Brain Trust by Sloop and Mental. This company right here, Botok Capital, is a white Israeli military company that sits in the middle of the black community in Los Angeles. And we fought real hard. You can hit them up on the internet. Botok, B-O-T-A-C-H, Tactical. They provide weaponry all the way to Iraq, every police department on the West Coast. But they've been operating in the middle of Leimert Park. You ever heard of LA community, the cultural area is Leimert Park. There is an unlisted building in Leimert Park that sells bazookas, rifles, grenades, handguns, and we exposed them on King's birthday 2 years ago. They shut down 1 year ago. They opened back up. They still don't have a license. They don't have a license. They never had a license. They never pay taxes, and they're open for business. But they're a high-level CIA Mossad front in the middle of the Park for black community. Now, what am I saying? There's probably one in your neighborhood. Unmarked building. Don't allow inventory every piece of property in your neighborhood. Know where the sewer heads are. Know which curbs got easements and which ones don't. Know where the power lamps are on the street lights. Know how to run an airport. If you're going to run something, you have to run some airport. Know how to run an airport. Know how to clean the streets. That'll be your streets too. That'll be your neighborhood. It won't involve them. I don't know, we should have sandmen. You should have a little cart and the brush and the knife sharpener, and they would wheel that buggy through the neighborhood and they clean up everything all around, and people would give them money. People would just hand them money. What their jobs, what they did, people paid them for doing it, but they were grateful. Botok Tactical is an illegal gun selling operation, and you know when they first found out that we had this really guy cornered, and he said, well, I heard black activists expose me. I got good cooperation with the politicians, the Congress people. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she went down there with me. So the man Botok, he tried to run the snow game. Well, I've been good with your people. Dog, why you want to throw me out of here? And show him that he's not zoned for that. It's a cultural area. You can't have a pawn shop, a military, nothing. But they allowed to open back up. And I kind of watched how the politicians tried to play the game that they wanted to pretend like they were shutting it down, but they couldn't. Gun dealers in Leimert Park. Community watchdog, stone cold asleep at the wheel. Now, in the news story, you can't mention my name, so he mentions all the groups identifying the gun company, and said Brothers in the Hood found it, though. Foreign Affairs, you should have this magazine. This magazine that comes out now every other month, 6 times a year, produces an annual report about the world, America and the world. You should get this magazine. The Imperial Brain Trust is about this organization. Council on Foreign Relations. How many subscribe to this magazine? 1. Now, they have a lot of stuff in that magazine about Africa. How we need to recolonize Africa. How we need to take Africa back over. How aid to Africa must be palliative, not curative. And that's the key white folk code word there. Palliative, not curative. I give the Negro some money to pacify him from whooping me, but I'm not going to cure nothing. And so they're giving away all these money over all these years and nothing has happened because it wasn't curative, it was palliative. Find this book, In Defense of Internment, because there is conversation about locking you up if you become uncooperative. And you need to know where the camps have been identified, what legislation would enable it? And this lady, Michelle Malkin, is often on Fox News. And what's deep about this is she says, look, don't worry about being unrighteous to little black people, because if they take over your country and you lose it, what rights you gave them become irrelevant. Dominate them, control them, take them over, lock them down if you need to, because that's what you must do to save your country. And only if you save your country can you answer the question of what rights did you give. Just white folks saying, hey, contain the Negro, contain the Latino boys, don't worry about what you do to them, over to the White House, that there's an emergency management plan to deal with Howard if they move that way. Because they're within 8 blocks of shutting down the operation of worldwide supremacy. New York, the financial capital. DC, the operational capital. Know the difference between the one who owns it and the one who operates it. Many times we chase the operators and we aggregate knowledge of the owners. The operators will change, the owners have remained the same. Carnegie, Rockefeller, Pew, they're still going. And on and on. But get one of these and it will serve as a basis for you immediately knowing where every black student is in every college in the United States. Very important. Foreign Policy magazine, the Carnegie wing of worldwide supremacy, the other side of foreign affairs, have that. If you get on my website, stevecoakley.com, you can see this article, Supremacy by Stealth. And it was how the white man was going to run the world quietly now that he's defeated all the isms. And you notice they don't show faces when they talk about who runs the world. This book, The Choice, by Zygmunt Brzezinski, was trying to knock out the book by our brother, The Choice, Samuel Yeti, who I actually hang out with in Silver Spring, whose book is more powerful than this book. This book says that America has whooped all comers, and now only the urban areas represent a real threat. Flushing out Skull and Bones. Anybody here see the movie The Good Shepherd? Right. Anybody? I know Brother Shelby, 1, 2. Now this movie, which is about the CIA, should be required understanding. Because in there is interactions with the spy people. It's about the founding of the CIA. But most deeply, it's about Skull and Bones. And Matt Damon is laying in the mud doing the ritual in the movie done by, what's the man name? New York man. Who did the movie? De Niro. This is Robert De Niro's movie. And the movie is really about Skull and Bones, but nowhere in the advertising, nowhere in the review do they say one thing about Skull and Bones. But when you get there, it opens with Skull and Bones. It's middle with Skull and Bones. It ends with Skull and Bones. But nowhere in anything does it associate DiCaprio or Angelina Jolie or all those actors, Matthew Dane, all of them who are involved. Nowhere does it say that they're involved with Skull and Bones in that movie. And it's very intimate. Flushing out Skull and Bones. I went up to 322 High Street and I beat on the door. I ran all around New Haven with my friends to let them know that we were there. The Confession of an Economic Hitman, a white man who says that he was a part of America's dehumanization of countries. And John Perkins. And the white left played his book up big and put him on every radio show in the country. But in fact, he admits that several times he wrote the book and tore it up because someone paid him to. And then he tells things that are 20, 30 years old and does not reveal that which is going on now. So I'm only semi-big on that book. Semi-big on that book. Now, look this book up in your library. You ought to have a copy there. The History of Sigma Pi Phi. Look that up. Look up the history books of all the organizations. I find them deeply enlightening. I have all of them. I have every handbook. I have every ritual book. I have every secret you ever shared with another African person. And I stole most of them. In the Boule history book number 2, they show this animal. Now I'm only interested in this animal with you is that this is a guardian animal. It's like a gargoyle, a griffin, a sphinx. They call it a Grecian sphinx. It's like the dog in the yard. You ever seen the dog in the yard, garden, the house, pay the mortgage? No. Okay. So if you're guarding the house, your role is the one who's in it, the one who guards it, the one who's in it. But why should the top of our race be guarding something of their race? Why should the top of our race be guarding something of their race? The urn in the pen is guarded by the paw of the Sphinx, represents the container into which were placed the names of Greek citizens who would be chosen by lot to lead the state. And what's his hand doing on the urn? Covering it. If the names of the people who run things are in the urn, why are they covering it? It's like me bringing this information and sitting on it and telling y'all I got a lot of good stuff down here. And you say, well, remember the niggas did us fucking. No, we ain't using that word anymore. I saw how fast Jesse Jackson grabbed that white man and tried to clean him up. And that white boy Kramer, he's dangerous. My monitoring the white supremacy has him on the cover of the Scottish Rite magazine. He's one of the biggest, most racist Masons in the United States of America. Jesse Jackson and Paul Mooney cannot be had that often. But when they attacked me in Chicago, and they went to Jesse Jackson, they said, what do you think of Steve Covey? He said, Steve Covey? I don't know Steve Covey. I don't even know him. So I can't comment on no anti-Semitism, because I never heard of him. But when the white man said something, he ran to his defense. White man be on my radio show. I'm going to clean you up. Be weary of a fallen man who would clean up a lesser man over the people that made him. If you made him, he can't make them. He had to make one you. Now he's here, right over in Memphis, over at the media conference that's going on. Right over there. My guy asked me, he said, man, you going to the conference? We'll share a cab. I said, oh no, you're not going where I'm going. I'm at the airport in Memphis. He said, sure, we can share a cab. You going to the conference, aren't you? I said, no, I ain't going to that one. He kept insisting. Then I got emphatic. No, I ain't going to that one. You're going to listen. Guardian animals. Look out for the guardian animals. Look out for the guardian animals. Wings of the bird, body, all of that. I'm not even going to go into all of the Greek thing. I didn't get a chance to hear Brother Kimball's presentation earlier. And I saw that he mentions me in his book, Black Greek 101. And there's a conversation about lectures given around the country about the Boulet's role with white supremacy and on and on. And that's all. That's all. This is their 100th anniversary book. I took it at the convention. When I went to the convention and the women were speaking, I saw a woman on the stage in African garb. And I said, who is this speaking to the Boulet women in African garb? It was none other than the person who spoke here last year, Sister Sonia Sanchez, spoke at the Boulet convention. And Jet Magazine, Ebony, in the publishing of his convention, even has the sister's picture right there in the Ebony, giving tribute to the 100th anniversary. So I asked her. I learned her in college. Sister Safisha Mahabuchi, who was Miss Eastman, married Donnell Lee Hakeem Mahabuchi. And she was one of my teachers. And we used to study Sanchez. So I said, sister, what you doing here at the Boulet convention? She said, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I come to report on to my people. She said, well, I came to speak to the women's breakfast. I mean, it must have been 2,000 women up in there. And she said she's from Philly and she knows some of those people. And I guess it was good they heard from her. I don't have no problem about that. But I was glad to see it, that I was there to see it. If you can find this book, and I'll move quickly, if you can find this book, The Masons Who Helped Shape Their Nation. The only importance of this book is, talks about the forming of the 3 branches of government, the forming of the Marines, the forming of a lot of things, even about the right Masonic context over Song of Solomon underneath there. And if you get a chance to go to Washington, go on a tour of this building, make note of every Masonic temple in your area. Make note of what type of temple that is, white or black. Make note of the existence of the temple. This is in Washington, down the street from the White House. It's got 2 streets out front. Know something about this man? Adam Weishaupt. You know anything about white history? You want to know something about that man? This Adam Weishaupt, he's so-called founder of the Illuminati. This man here is buried in the wall behind this statue. This is the man who's buried in the wall behind that statue. He's buried in this building in Washington, D.C. He's buried in that building, right in the wall. And you must know something about Albert Pike. It will help you if you offer yourself to know something about it. Know something about the Prince Hall lodge. Learn something about the Prince Hall. Where are they near you? Learn about it. That's the guy who was in Cincinnati. Know something about this guy, Henry Minton. He was the founder of the Boule. Know something about these guys. George Washington on the right, Marquez de Lafayette on the left. There's a little picture of me to see how big the pictures are. Look how small I am in comparison to the size of the murals. That's at the George Washington Masonic Memorial in Arlington, Virginia. You can go in there on tours. All of these lodges, because they're tax exempt, have to let you in. Know something about Marquez de Lafayette. It's a statue of him right across the street from the White House. Know how to translate these symbols of these secret societies in your town. The streets, Washington connecting with Pike. Very important. Oglethorpe named the state of Georgia in honor of King George. We set up the first Masonic lodge. Know something about Oglethorpe. Here's a picture of Prince Hall. Now that's the Scottish Rite magazine that I saw that man Kramer on the cover of, that magazine right there. Scottish Rite. They give it out at that temple. There's a picture of Prince Hall. Give some understanding to that. How is it in your neighborhood? You can look it up in the phone book. They list all the lodges and their phone numbers and addresses. Davey, who set up Wendy's, he was a big-time Mason. His hamburgers were square. The Nuwapian Nation had produced a series of books over the years. The Pale Man. This one, Secret Societies Revealed, a math. Excellent book if you can find it. Of course, they attacked the Nuwapian Nation in Atlanta, Malachi York, and though Catholic priests raped children from Boston to Texas, they didn't close one Catholic school because of rape. Not one was closed because of rape. So white man raped all them children, and they didn't take nothing from them. But they took the Nuwapian Nation away, put the brother in jail for 40 years or so because of their fear. In fear, they will do some stuff. There are 72 stones on that pyramid on the dollar bill. Know something about those 72 stones. Know something about the tetragrammaton. Know something about the Greek letter delta. Know something about the pyramids. Know something about those symbols on the dollar, which is evidence of a secret society. Now, if you look up the Delta handbook, they'll say, well, you know, we got some of our stuff from Freemasonry. The human question. All humans are vulnerable to error. So even if it's me, the brother, you, we are all gonna fuck up sometime. Because we're human. And since we're all vulnerable, there must be some place we fail because we was dead. Now, in your church, they're scaring people. If you don't do right, you're going to hell. But then I'm in a place where everybody's kind of messed up. Nobody can claim to be better. Because no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what race, no matter how tall or how small, we're all vulnerable to error. Now, if you can deal with that, you can move forward. Because you can confuse the people when you demand something that the people can't give. So, somebody might be a 40% brother. Then this might be a 60% brother. If you want 100%, put us together, 40 and 60. But you can't get 100% out of one person, because it just wasn't made that way. Then they do the hello thing. I ain't figured that out yet. Now, if you're going to be a revolutionary, you're going to have to deal with the question of religion. You have to deal, you have to put, you're in the room with Kwesi, bring your book, bring your guide. We'll talk. We're not going to leave the room until we come to a conclusion. Each one that claims one is not better than the other on the surface. Because if you use one and need one, you might have denied other opportunities. Those were translated and certified by the white establishment. So we have to deal with that question of religion. It's mandatory. And nobody who knows God can be afraid of that white guy. Nobody who knows God can be afraid of that white guy. Right? Okay? Now this is a page of the Moulin Ritual. We stole it. You know, I see when I saw Kwesi. No, right? Asa Hill, he in this here. So I had to see what it was he said when he raised his hand and did the ritual. The candidate shall be stripped to his underwear and socks, and shall be securely blindfolded. He shall then be subjected to a physical examination by 2 physicians in order to ascertain his ability to undergo this ordeal. One physician will pass him, one will reject him, and he will then be led before the council. After argument and questioning, will appoint a 3rd physician who will make a further examination and act as an arbitrator. Make some other statements like, in the presence of this council, I do hereby promise and swear never to reveal in any way or manner the mysteries, secrets, tokens, rights of this body to anyone who has not been regularly and properly administered this oath, to which I swear by Almighty God. All oaths bring God into the question, but its allegiance is to another man. All oaths bring God into question, but its allegiance is to another man or woman, not to the God that's used in the ritual. Now the conscious community says this: on the path you will meet people of like character, and with them you will form a bond that needs no utterance of mere words. So in the ritual, they do a lot of word, but in the real game, when you know it, it needs no utterance. Alright. And lastly, you don't forget how far we come. Don't forget what these things were like. Being drugged and beat. You saw the movie Apocalypto, you can see how they can tie each other's necks up and leave each other around. Don't forget how far we've come. And sometimes we can lighten up on the enemy when we forget this was only several hundred years ago. So don't forget the intensity and the negativity that has been put upon us by the enemy. There's a sister being abused by a slave master, and people are compelled to watch, being unable to fight back because they were chained down. It wasn't even a fair fight. The reparations community would be very profound to be excessively aggressive against all forms of white supremacy, to the point that pain would be an option to relieve the heat. But the heat could never be relieved for the pain, because there is no amount to pay to cover what had happened. I used this phrase years ago: crisis in black leadership, moderation, or revolution. And that's indicative of a lot of things that we haven't made up our mind. We want the right to vote. We want the right to win the vote. We want the right to govern. We want the right to drive a car, have a certain job, or to have a certain opportunity that they have. Is that what we want? Do we want something they got that we want to share? Or do we want something all our own? Do we want something different?
All our own.
Different backbone, different values. different kind of institution. Do we want those things? The religious leadership, are they really looking for the beast? The African connection, have black nationalists caved into the no conspiracy theory of white domination? Athletes are entertainers, just another gig. Why education was contained as a strategy to advance white liberation. Black political leadership, why it remains impotent. What's the difference between a protest and a hotest? Real simple thing there. That for our community, what's expected of someone who takes responsibility is far greater than that which another might. Just you going to college or just you getting a degree, which involves tolerance and endurance, and involves doing what you're told. This is a very complicated thing to do if you don't believe in what you're being told. My daughter is 14 years old. She's been in African Center School all her life. She's in a white high school. No, I take that back. There are white teachers in the black and Latino high school. And when the teacher is teaching about Africa, and he's talking about the pyramid, he tells my daughter, my aunt, as a member of the class, that it was Osiris who has the weight out, that weighs the weight of one's sins against the fallacy. He said that was Osiris, and she raised her hand and said, no, that's not Osiris, that's my aunt. And he said, wrong. He graded her paper wrong. Because she said, but that's my name. I know. Truth, justice, righteousness. She started whipping it down. And they graded her wrong because he didn't know any more than Osiris and Horus. And he was the teacher. And she was being victimized by someone who didn't have all of the information. That's a deep situation to be in, and that's something school will confront you with. It will make or test righteousness. You gotta take the hit. If the man says you agree with me, I downgrade you. Take the downgrade. Let me tell you something. When I was in my senior year, and I was at a protest for Dr. King, April 4th, 1975. And I shut my campus down. Them white folks figured out I shut the fraternities, sororities, the dope sellers, the athletes, made them all sign pledges. We rubbed blood on each other. And we had shut the whole thing down, Northern Illinois University. And man, they bust down on my boy Rick. They come at me and they lock me up in the hospital. I had no criminal record. I'd never been arrested. So you couldn't put attempted murder of the president of the university and say this nigga crazy. So they took me to the hospital in DeKalb, right outside of the university, Northern Illinois University. Little did I know I would end up an expert on who killed King. But I had no problem. My test came, and I decided I wanted to do that. And they locked me up, put me in the hospital, and wouldn't let me out till my parents come and got me. And all my mother kept telling me was, I don't know what the fuck you found out, but you better forget that shit right now. Me and your father didn't pay this money to send you to school to be fucking with these white people. And I will beat your ass to stop them from killing you. So you better get with it. So I'm 1 month from graduation. The president of the school sent somebody to the hospital. They only hold you 5 days. And the president sent this man and said, look, brother, all you gotta do is take your ass back to Chicago. You're gonna graduate in 1 month. You don't have to take your finals. We will give you your grades. And I said, you mean to tell me that I don't have to take no final? No. I don't have to go back? No. I ain't gotta fill out. You don't even have to pay the graduation fee. You take your ass back to Chicago. And I said, and all I gotta do is stop messing with you. I said, that's it. Go home and don't come back up here. Got out. They picked me up on April 1st. April Fool's Day, I thought it was a big joke. And they let me out. When the second day came, my parents came, my mama looked frightened. She said, boy, you in big trouble. I don't even know what all trouble you in. But you better shut up. They bring this white boy in to play chess with me. I'm a ferocious chess player. And the white boy come in and he bring my little piece and he knock it over on the ground. See what I do. And he take another leap, knock it over on the ground. See what I do. I don't know if it's another honky testing me. So he just knocked the shit all over, got up, and he said, man, you're gonna kill yourself. Y'all just right now, while nobody's looking, just kill yourself. I said, oh, kill myself? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay, thanks. Okay. So when I got out that Sunday, I went back to Chicago. I mean, people came from all over. I don't even know where they came from to say, brother, we heard you got to learn some things. There's things going on out there. I said, well, I'm going back up to the school to tell the students that they can leave class now. Just go start shit and sell it away. You don't need to go to class no more. This is brilliant, man. Everybody out of class, start trouble, they'll graduate you. And of course, they were looking at me. When I went to the senior luncheon that following Sunday, man, they lifted me up on their shoulders, and all the black program directors got real scared because they had sold me out to the white man to break up what we were doing on the campuses when they had shut the campuses down after 70, 69, 68. I go there in 75, they didn't shut the shit down. I'm trying to open it up. They said, boy, this thing is past. And you know what? Outside some little shanty town stuff for apartheid and a little anti-war in Iraq in 91, ain't been shit happening on no campus. The children don't feel no pain, and the draft is being tested. Somebody in this room will die as a result of what George Bush is doing. And all the whites know he's wrong. Man, I love it when a white man stands up to another white man. I think George Bush is making the worst mistake in the history of the United States since Vietnam. Yeah, I love that. Love confusion among the white race. Last thing, I better do this. I forgot this is the factor. We can do this. Yeah. We take a chance. Take a sheet of paper, put 15% at the top, put 10 over 20 on the side, put 40% on this side, and put, what we got here? I think we got 15% right there. This is the factor. This is an answer. This is quick too. I gotta do this quick. This is an answer to our need to amalgamate. 15% of our population is unorganizable. It is too old or too young to be mobilized and doing something. 15% of our race is unorganizable. 10% of our race is the talented 10, the black aristocracy, and 20% want to be like them. 40% are the masses of our people. They remain unapproached. They're in nothing primarily, and the 15% at the top is what we need to pull it off. There are 40 million people, Africans so-called. 6 million is what we need. We need 6 million or 15% of our population to have an insurance policy on our own destinies. And to do this, you have to take the United States, it's already done, and you break it up into 5 zones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that one in the middle, that 3 is kind of big because Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, South Dakota, North Dakota, no more nation. Then we'll save that, reserve that for them. They've experienced reservations before and will understand it if we impose it. So 3 is big. So we put 1 million in each zone. We need 6 million people. We put 1 million in each zone. We need 6 million people. We got 1 million in each zone. Now, to be in this thing called productive, you have to be willing to drop what you're doing for up to 90 days or more to perform an agreed upon task for which you were well trained. You have to be willing to drop what you're doing for 90 days or more to perform an agreed upon task for which you were well trained. Drop what you're doing is the key. There's a tape over there about the factor. You can get more elaboration there, but I can only end with this. 300,000 is for medical. 300,000 is straight military. 300,000 is food. Food, military, medicine, and 100,000 is administration. 1 million in each of the 5 zones. 300,000 medical, 300,000 military, 300,000 food, 100,000 administering the 6 million, the factor. So this is when you get into a position where you don't come to knock down someone, you come to find a commonality with them. Because we're trying to get many people, not just certain people. In this space, everybody we need. Everybody can't come. Everybody don't want to come. But we believe that we can get that 15% here, the black aristocracy and the wannabe, doctor, lawyer, the licensed professionals, accountant, undergraduate, the aristocracy that want to be like them. If they won't be with us, we will have to split them in half. We will have to split them out. There are black press, there are black magazines, there are black politicians, but if they ain't with having an insurance policy with the people who put them there, then we'll have to split them in half so that they won't disturb the 15%'s approach to the 40. The 15% will approach the 40 to establish a majority of activation. 40% of our people are not in anything. The factor. There's a tape up there called The Factor. The moral bank. Why our leadership doesn't win? Because they haven't built up a reservoir of goodwill that they needed in advance of trouble. Build up a reservoir of goodwill in advance of needing it. And I was in Brooklyn with a lecture called Truth or Consequences. Those DVDs over there are just $20. And it's a lot of information there to share with you to go deeper into things. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate Brother Stovall for being willing to have me. I was with the brother when he was over at Lemoyne Owens. We were over in Tennessee with Dr. Jeffries. I remember being in a huge auditorium. Now I remember that night, Dr. Jeffries wanted to talk to me real bad. He kept me up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We were staying in this hotel with a balcony on it, looked like the Lorraine. And Nathan Hare came with Junior Hare, and we were all talking on this balcony. I said, you know, this looks like the Lorraine balcony. Y'all gotta get off this balcony. I want to feel comfortable up there. It's just my knowledge of the stuff, you know. And we went down to the little conference room, like you had sessions. People talk all night. We went down to the session. And Leonard Jeffrey spent a lot of time talking to me about deals that were made in the African-centered community with the funders that have made some people not like Steve, not because his information might not be relevant or whatever, but because if you dig too deep, you might find something you wasn't supposed to know. But in this hour, we're in no more secrets. And if you want to confess some shit, we take confessions in the back. So we can clean it up and move on. We're amalgamating, not subtracting. Pawns linked together. In the chess game of power, we, me, you are just pawns. We're the smallest piece on the board. But it's more of us than any knights, bishops, rooks. It's more of us than the king and the queen. And you know what? When 2 pawns are tied together, a bigger piece don't attack them. If 2 or 3 of you are united, a big old corrupt rook or a knight, see, knight's a secret society. 2 of them, 1 over, makes an L. The bishops are the church. They run on diagonals. White church, the black church. The rooks are the crooks or the mafia. We need to have an African-centered symposium on the impact of the mafia on the black community. No African-centered apparatus has ever taken the mafia on as an entity, though it is real and it exists. And lastly, united pawns in the opening of the game will establish themselves in the center of the board. In fact, I would be easier doing it right here. I need two brothers. I need two brothers. I need two brothers. I need one more brother. Grab my arm, grab his arm. We are three pawns in a game of chess. Let me step forward. I'm going to step forward. But we're still locked together. Now, what happens if a bishop comes up near one of us? You think he'll take me? Why? Because one of these will take him. So when we at the restaurant in Chicago and somebody say, Jesse, look, that's Steve Copley over there. He said you killed Martin King. He walked across the room and I said, what's this? He said, good morning, Mr. Copley. I said, good morning, Mr. Jackson. He said, how are you? I said, I'm doing fine. Then he walked over and sat down. The guy said, why don't he confront you? He was on radio last night saying he killed Martin King. I said, because he's a bishop and I'm a pawn. And no bishop want to die unless I'm with a pawn. So when pawns control the middle of the board, the leadership will go around. Because we have a strategic position. In the mid-game, our knights will trade themselves with their knights. Our bishops will trade away their bishops. Our rooks will trade away their rooks. Now, if any of you play chess, when you get to that end game, and you got united pawns in the middle of the board, you're the winner. The most important thing about the pawn, it's the only piece on the board that can reincarnate itself. When the pawn gets to the highest row, it can be the king or the queen. So you remember where you stand. You remember your strategy as pawns linked together. Well, nobody mess with you when you come in like that. They'll go around the streets on the side, you'll ambush them. You'll ambush them when they go around you. And then you'll move on to the highest row and re-empower yourself. Pawns linked together. Opening, middle, end game. It's very possible. Thank you all very much. I know this has been really long. I'll be around. I'll share my information with you. I'm around. I'll be here all day tomorrow. If you get a chance, if you're interested in this information, I'll be here to share. Thank you.